Hi, Casey. Hey, I think we can't hear you. Probably you're on mute.
Wow, okay. First show, and we're already off to a rocking start. I have been
Yeah.
talking to myself. Well, on that note, see, look, that is
Right.
the one mulligan. The one mulligan, I'm allowed it because, it's the first stream. So that's what we're going to go with. That's always slightly awkward. Anyway, so welcome to From the Field. After that bombshell that has been dropped on me, I am the new presenter, hence the rough around the edges presentation. We're going. I even made a mental note to unmute myself because I knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, anyway,
I'm pretty sure you did
I'm
it
gonna.
intentionally, Casey, to add a little bit of a drama to the whole show.
I wish that yes, just all that stress, new show, new everything. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. So as I mentioned, I'm the new host. I'm working alongside Trevor. So I'm a solution architect down in Wellington, New Zealand. And I was actually just going on about the fact that daylight savings has really thrown a wrench into the whole into everything because we are supposed to be streaming at 6 p.m. New Zealand time according to official schedule, but it's 7 o'clock. So that's daylight savings change is really throwing us a hurdle, and that's what I'm going to blame it on. So
Okay. So
we'll be talking
we
about
didn't miss
Amazon Poly.
anything. We didn't miss anything important, Casey. So that's fine. Who cares about daylight
Oh
saving?
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Right.
no one cares about me. No one cares about the host. Let's get down to the content in that regard. So Ratan and Maciek here will be giving you the lowdown on Amazon Poly, an amazing service that really makes natural text to speech synthesis, making us live the dream. I'm going to let them introduce themselves now. So over to you, Ratan, and then Maciek after that.
Thanks, Casey. Hi, everyone. Nice to be here. So I think probably by now you probably get a little bit used to me. This is my fifth show on our From the Field. So really looking forward to the new content that we are planning to bring. I'm Ratan Kumar, AWS Solutions Architect. I work closely with some of our large telco and media customers in New Zealand. And we have got a very special guest today with us. So I'd like to hand it over to you, Maciek, to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, Ratan and Casey. Really great to be here. My name is Maciek. Actually, daylight saving times are working in my favor because I'm located in Poland. So it's 9 a.m. and sunny here. I'm starting my morning coffee, and it's not 8, which would be the case if we were back in wintertime. So very, very great to be here. My name is Maciek. I am with the Poly team, actually. I've been with Amazon for almost 9 years, and I've been an audio designer and then moved to a product management role. So now I am a principal product manager in Poly, and I'm working specifically on helping customers to enable Poly for their services and working on branded voices, which is an offering which allows the customer to build a custom voice for their needs and expose it just for them, which we'll be probably touching in a little bit. So that's me. Hi, everyone.
Thanks, Maciek. And Casey, we do have a hidden guest as well along with us. Should we introduce her as well?
Sure.
Yeah, if that's okay.
Kia ora, everyone. My name is Aria, a uniquely crafted New Zealand voice by the Amazon Poly team. Thanks, Casey, for having me on the show.
Wow. So if you're wondering who that is, I'll say that that's the New Zealand English voice that we created last year. We launched it. We were really lucky to be involved. I, as well as Maciek, did a lot of work, and we've worked closely with Vodafone New Zealand to actually create it. So Maciek, before we get started, do you want to touch a little bit on that? How did we come up with this idea of creating a custom New Zealand voice?
Yeah, for sure. I will not go into the details how we did it. I think the why is important, right? We've heard from customers from New Zealand that they lacked a New Zealand English voice, and it was important for us to create something which would be uniquely tailored to those customers, and it happened so that Vodafone was willing to go on a ride with us and join that process, and we worked with them and tried really hard to tailor the experience so that it really works for customers in New Zealand. We added some Maori words additionally to the voice, which is a natively English voice, New Zealand English, which was a somewhat challenging process, but we'll touch upon how you can use that in this presentation as well. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think I was just stoked to create a variant of a voice, an individual voice which works for the customers in New Zealand well, and yeah, very happy that this was successful here.
And
Nice.
Bearded Muscussi is inquiring whether or not you see it at Vodafone New Zealand. I believe we did.
Yes, it is. So we kind of partnered closely with Vodafone New Zealand to come up with this unique voice for New Zealand.
Yep.
You know what? That's 2 for 2 mulligans. I'm gonna actually have to really improve next time. I'll step it up next one because let's see how many mistakes you can point out for this whole entire stream, and then from that's how many I'm gonna get whacked around the head after this.
Push-ups.
Push-ups. We'll do push-ups. Yeah, something a little bit less.
Absolutely. All right. So now I think the Maciek, I know that some of the people in the audience are probably new to the
right
concept of text-to-speech. What Amazon Polly is all about.
Yeah.
So why don't we just touch a little bit on what Amazon Polly as a service is, how customers can use it, and so on.
Yeah, for sure. So let me just quickly share my screen here. I have a very, hopefully not super boring presentation. It's just like 6 slides, just to help me kind of visually here. So yeah, one more time, my name is Maciek, Principal Product Manager with Polly. Really overarching our mission at AWS is make sure that we put machine learning into the hands of every developer to simplify the tools so everybody can use them easily and benefit from them. So Polly, double L Polly, is a text-to-speech service, and we are sitting within the AIML services section, specifically in the languages section. So we very often our service is very often used along other services, individually as well, but other services, like you can benefit a lot where you combine the usage of services. So very often we work with the Amazon Lex team, for example, on creating chatbots which are voiced, with transcribe, where you can actually at the beginning transcribe a conversation, then maybe voice it. So there are all sorts of different options where you can combine those services and use it to your product's advantage. But Polly really is a text-to-speech service, and maybe I should start with what text-to-speech is. So text-to-speech is a technology that allows you to convert actual text into actual speech. So sound files, WAV files, or MP3 files. We created Polly because we saw an increasing of voicing content, you could say, overarchingly, right? So there are more and more apps being built where voice plays a critical role, right, in order to communicate or even be the interface with the user. The naturalness is a super thing, because of course, in order for this interface to work well, you need high quality voices voicing the content itself. So Polly is enabling integration of all sorts of different use cases, and I will mention them in a second. But in general, what I think about Polly is the most important thing is that we enable voicing that content at scale, right? Especially when your content when you have a lot of content, or that content changes dynamically. Say your application is perhaps using customer names or some customer specific details that you want to be voiced and generated through speech as well. like you couldn't really do it with recordings, right? You would need to record like tons of different content in order to have that ability to communicate with the customer. Like text to speech enables that experience effectively, and I think personalization is also a very strong kind of topic in apps now and services in general. So Poly is available both through a console-like experience and an API, of course, right? So very often what happens with our customers is they would have teams which would, prototype in the console. They would figure out, what is the best way of using the product, and then, of course, integrate through an API. And very often integrating with multiple services, actually, right? So I mentioned Lex, for example, transcribe, translate. That's something that happens very often. And of course, we will demo the console so you get an idea of. It's actually super simple. So I encourage you to just give it a go. Poly offers so of course when we talk about text to speech, and we kind of briefly mentioned already languages. So we have a New Zealand English language and a voice. We also have over 30 other languages which are covering the majority of the speakers around the world. And we offer multiple voices in some of those languages. So overall, we are looking at 60 plus concatenative voices and 20 plus neural voices. And I'll go in a second what's the difference between concatenative and neural. We offer something called styles as well, specifically a newscaster speaking style, which is available for selected voices. The idea of that product is to be able to tailor the speaking style of a given voice to the content. In this case, this happens to be news-like content. In addition to that, developers can cache Poly responses. This is critical if you're really trying to operate at scale with Poly, right? So imagine, you're really serving millions of customers, and you would need to generate every time the same response. Then, of course, you would be hit economically. You would need to, pay as you go for this static content, which you generate over and over again. So Poly has solutions built in that allow you to cache those static responses on S3, for example, and then only regenerate stuff which is actually personalized, where you actually have a customer name or some details you would like to have, different from each customer, address, numbers, account, these type of things, right? I mentioned before, we do have an option for organizations to build a custom voice with Poly, and very often we see that used in branding use cases, right, where the customer wants to differentiate from other companies, and they would like to have an exclusive voice, so to say. Go ahead.
You mentioned about the caching of the generated voice.
Response.
Yeah, that's particularly important in the context of, let's say, call center and those things where you've got a same prompts going millions of times. When you've got customers calling, "Hello, welcome to this."
Absolutely, and in fact, I think this is the use case where we see the most kind of caching use cases. I would say there's one more, which is in publishing. Customers would very often, they would, for example, shuffle their publishing news content, right? So or add something on top of content, right? Like add another paragraph or kind of reshuffle that. That's also a situation where you could benefit from caching. By the way, we do have, and we'll be dropping some links as we go through this presentation. I'm just finishing this kind of boring type of presentation, but so key Poly features apart from caching and that I would say is SSML, which Ratan will be discussing in details and showing you the use cases. Effectively, SSML is the ability for you to customize Poly responses in a way which is going beyond text, right? So of course you can customize any response, any content by changing wording, right? But we also have the ability to shape the how that particular response sound, and this can be as basic as deciding whether you would like your application to pronounce GIF or GIF, for example, a very common, I guess, contentious point between users, to more elaborate, I would say, use cases. Lexicons are a way of storing specific pronunciations where you have multiple of them, or multiple, like you like to make multiple changes and use these type of solutions at scale. Then we have speech marks. Speech marks are an important feature, especially when you go with any type of animated content, right? They effectively allow to tie specific textual, speech generated to time, to specific time, so that you can use that for animation and for lip sync type of solutions. And then last but not least, these brand voices, which I already mentioned, so I'll not do that twice. So I promised to explain standard versus neural, and I'll just go very quickly through it. So effectively, what happened about 4 years back, we designed something called neural text-to-speech. And in the past, all text-to-speech voices around the world have been benefiting from concatenation. So the idea there was you record a large database of speech, right, of a specific human, right, and you try to adjust the database so it provides you with a combination of sounds, which then allow you to say anything you want in a particular language. So practically speaking, this worked as concatenating, splicing specific, of course, automatically, like not manually, but splicing specific phonemes and merging them together. And effectively, the better you merge them, the better algorithm you had to merge them, the more natural the sound was coming out of that algorithm. But of course, this technology had limitations, right? Specifically, you're only able to record so much with a specific human. So you needed to minimize that database in order to really actually make it possible to record that content. So what that means, effectively, while minimizing, you reduce the number of possibilities with those phonemes, right? Which then, in the end, in the output, effectively reduces your naturalness, because you don't have the ability to create a very natural response in some cases, right? I mean, it worked and it worked well, but it had its limitations. With neural text-to-speech, you no longer concatenate, right? You effectively have models which allow you to effectively teach a model how to speak a given language. And you still have a database. You still need to have a database as with many AI products, AI/ML products, and you teach the algorithm, the models, the speech, but you're no longer limited in terms of those permutations of specific phonemes. So the speech output is much more natural and much more human-like, you could say.
On that topic, Maciek,
yeah.
Newbie mentioned that he did try the samples on AWS website and it still sounded very machine-like. And he was interested to see if you could customize them to make them sound a little bit more human.
For sure. Yeah. So we can definitely customize them, and that's something that Ratan will be showing with SSML a little bit. We also are transparently, right? We are working always on improving our services, right? So this feedback is always welcome. And of course, whenever we build a new voice as well, we are trying to use the most recent advancements, and also then bring those advancements we did to all of our voices. Now that of course takes time, right? So when we have an advancement, we are trying to deploy that advancement to multiple different voices, but sometimes there's a delay between the actual kind of, the improvement and getting that improvement to all of our voices. So it very much depends on like what voice, for example, did you listen to, right?
Yeah.
All right.
And just to
Yeah.
add to that, Maciek, I think the neural voices are going to be much more human-like compared to the concatenative voices.
Yeah.
So, or the standard voice in the console, you will see them as a standard voice. So definitely give that a try. And as Maciek said, if you have got an opinion or if you've got a feedback about a specific voice, definitely reach out to us through your account essay or account manager, or directly by providing a feedback to us from our website.
Yeah. I think that's it from me in terms of introductions. So I think we can go, like, we can ask Ratan to continue on more specific use cases and examples.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of the more specific use cases locally, what we are seeing, what customers are doing with Poly is lots of new interesting things we are seeing. We already mentioned about how Vodafone is partnered with us for creating this. So that's a big customer of Amazon Poly. They are using this to customize and deliver a much better experience when callers call them to their contact center. They've got millions of customers, and they really wanted to deliver a very unique and a New Zealand experience. They could have used any other voice, but they just wanted that when a caller calls them, they should be greeted in a voice that is uniquely New Zealand or Kiwi. So that's we have got several customers in that category who are using Amazon Poly for call center related use cases. Maciek has touched on publishing, so we have got a few customers who are already planning to use or create what we call voice articles or podcast, where they are adding the features on the website, so that people can listen to the news articles instead of reading. They can be on a walk or driving, and the news can be being read by Amazon Poly. So that's a great little feature. We have already got lots of some of the large publishers globally, like Washington Post and a few other customers. One of the publisher in Canada, Maciek, has done a similar thing.
Yes, we have US Today Network as well. We have a couple of publishing customers indeed.
Yes. So we have got a bunch of these customers. A very unique case, though, I've come across in terms of some of the use cases is in Japan. There's a radio station called Banana FM, I believe, and they have created a DR site where, just in case if their presenters cannot be online for a specific segment of their show, they're planning to use the recorded or text or the notes that the presenter is going to say, and Amazon Poly is going to replace their radio jockey. How cool is that? So like that, we've got several really interesting examples where we are seeing Amazon Poly being used to deliver unique customer experiences.
I'll just add to that, Ratan. So this is where we really where sometimes our customers surprise us, right? And then we try to follow their needs, right? It's like we never thought of Poly voices being potentially like hosts on a show, right? And then of course, like some of the voices might not be yet ready, right? But this is where we try to listen to the feedback and then of course work on improvements, which later on would enable that use case in maybe even a broader context, right? So, but indeed, we see more and more requests and more kind of discussions around maybe using in shows, podcast shows, as a supportive host, right? In case the host doesn't want to, for whatever reason, like needs an additional speaker, you can say, right?
Totally. So there are all these use cases, and let me share my screen and show you how you can use Amazon Poly. So before I go and show Amazon Polly, I'm just really excited to talk briefly about what Washington Post did with Polly. We have covered a couple of examples of how publishers are using it. So there's actually a blog post which goes into details of Washington Post and how they have created or added a feature called audio articles using Amazon Polly. And what I really liked about this is that now they're thinking in a very unique way. So generally, in publishing context, we always hear about what we call a CMS, content management system, where editors go and create new articles, and they have got a publishing process to publish it. Here, what Washington Post is now doing is also adding another CMS, which they are calling audio CMS. So the moment publishers are or the editors are creating or adding their content, and they say that, hey, this content is now ready to be published on the website, that content goes into what they have called audio CMS, where that content gets converted into an article, an audio article or podcast, and then they'll have a similar review process as you would have in a text article, and then it gets published on the website along with the actual article text. So it's a pretty cool way in which they have attempted to do it.
I'll add to that we also have a customer called Süddeutsche Zeitung. It's a German newspaper publishing customer. They also have a very interesting, quite recent blog post published, which showcases that like how you can use this caching mechanism effectively in publishing. So I'll ask Casey maybe to drop the link in a second in the chat.
Great. Yeah. No. Definitely. Cool. So talking about Amazon Polly and the console, as Maciek mentioned, it's really simple and straightforward to use. So it's so you have got option to pick different languages. So you can pick Australian English, British. Here I'm selecting the New Zealand English, one of my favorite. And once you select, say I'll go into US, I've got a bunch of different voices. So female or male voice, I can either select a neural sound or a standard sound. So that's the thing. And once I have done that, I basically just go and type whatever I want to type here and press listen to listen to it. So let's try this. So I've got a text which is about I want to send all my listeners in New Zealand happy Matariki, so I play this.
Wishing all my listeners in New Zealand a very happy Matariki.
Yeah, so did you see that how it has got a very specific pronunciation for Matariki as a Maori word? So there are, as Maciek has already mentioned, we added a set of Maori pronunciation into ARIA, which is pretty cool. So that's simply you just write text here and play, listen, and you can download this or you can save it into an S3 bucket. So that's really how it works. Now, talking about some of the interesting new features. So let's think about this situation where you have got, you want to do the same thing. Let's say you are running a podcast from Australia, for example, and you use Australian voice all the time for generating your podcast. And given there is not a lot of support in Australian language for say Matariki, or so if I play this, you will see that there is a very specific difference the way Australian English pronounces it.
Wishing all my listeners in New Zealand a very happy Matariki.
So did you? I'll play it again because I was talking when Polly was saying it.
Wishing all my listeners in New Zealand a very happy Matariki.
Yeah, so you see that it's not pronouncing as correctly as we would like it to, and this is where what we call phonetic pronunciation comes into picture using SSML tag. So before I get into the details of SSML tag and everything, let me just show you what is the SSML tags that we really support. So there are a bunch of these tags that is supported out of the box, and how you can use it is, for example, if you want to add extra pause, Poly will automatically as a pause if you have got a full stop or a comma. So it honors all of that. Let's say there is a specific situation where you really want to add a little extra pause. You can use the break tag for that. Then you've got emphasis, so emphasize the word where you want to subtly increase the volume of, or you want to emphasize a specific word. Some interesting ones are like, let's say you want to let Polly pronounce a number as a phone number instead of just as a string, or or a big number. So for example, let's look into this one. So say as, so I have got this number. So Richard's phone number is this. So let me try this first. So I'll say here, Richard phone number is say 211078908. Okay, and let's see how Polly pronounces it by default.
Richard's number is 2,110,789,089.
That's not at all useful, right? You can't share your phone number in that way. So that's where the say as tag comes into picture. So what I'll do is I'll copy paste this, put into here. Before that, what I need to do is enable SSML. So you just tick this radio button over here, and then paste this snippet. What it is doing is it's basically telling Polly that, hey, interpret this number as a telephone number. So now if I try this, you will see that it's just going to do this pronunciation in a way that it's much more friendlier to somebody listening to this as a number.
Richard's number is 212-224-1555.
Yeah, so do you see that? So like that, there are several ways in which SSML tags can be used for customizing the way Polly processes the text that you have.
Just jumping into here to just add, you can also combine those SSML tags, right? So for example, say you didn't like you would like the telephone number to be spoken slower. You can do that as well, right? You can add a duration tag in which you instruct Polly to just slow down the telephone number itself, right? So that's something we see our customers using sometimes, especially for these, important numbers. For example, on a telephony line, you have some of those where the customer might need to make a note, right? And then, of course, we want to slow them down.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. Okay. So now going back to the phoneme part, which is how do you add phonetic pronunciation to customize the pronunciation? There was an earlier question that what are the options that we have in terms of customizing the pronunciation. So a very common, different languages have got different pronunciation for the same word. For example, here I've got British English and US English pronounces pecan very differently. One way to pronounce this is pecan, or other one is pecan. So the way if you want to customize that, you can simply use the phoneme tag, and then you will see the difference that it is, instead of now pronouncing this word, it is going to pronounce it using the phonetic pronunciation that we have provided. And there's a list of phonemes that Polly supports out of the box. So you need to go. You can go to our Polly documentation, and you will find that there are all these phonemes for different languages. For New Zealand English, for example, I've got these phonemes here. Or for Australian English, there's a bunch of the phonemes. So the key thing is that whichever language you are using for generating Polly voice, make sure that when you're using the phonetic pronunciation, you use the phonemes for that language, specific to that language. And I'm not a language engineer, so there's a little bit of a science and art to how you use phonetic pronunciation, or how you generate the phonetic pronunciation for a specific word. But really, what's happening here is the way it works is that this is the alphabet for the representing that sound. Okay, so think of this is that if an Australian speaker says then, so the sound that it is going to he or she is going to make when saying th, the th part of then, is represented by D. Okay, probably it will be more clear. Let's say if I say father, okay, so there is a here, but the pronunciation of father and a vowel a in that is quite different to the way the same speaker will say trap, for example. Okay, so the sound of a in trap is represented by this curly brace, and the sound of a in father is represented by a uppercase a and colon. Maciek, have I got that right? I know you're probably
Yes,
more.
it's by the way, it sounds complicated, but after like 15 minutes or 30 minutes where you play with it, you got a hang of it, right? So, and we have some examples that we dropped, in this documentation, so you can check it out. And I will just say that, or preface that we're trying to get a majority of the things right out of the box, right? So we don't get you to the impression that you need to do it every time, right? But there are some specific cases, or specific place names, or maybe you have product names which you want to they for example are like sounding a little unnative, right? Like in a given language, you want to tune them to better represent to what you're trying to do, right? So really these type of use cases are here, for these these type of solutions are there for those type of use cases.
Yep. So
Actually, interestingly, on that note, interestingly, we do support Welsh as a language, and I am really interested how we get like their place names correct, considering like they have like 4 hours in a row, and I'm still trying to work out how to pronounce that.
Go check it out.
Yeah. Gonna have to play like copy and paste of some place names. I'm really interested.
yeah, place names are always hard to get, or any names for that matter. My name, for example, I have heard so many different ways it gets pronounced. So yeah, its names are really hard always.
Even the name as simple as mine, like gets pronounced in many different ways. My dentist still calls me Corey, so I'm not entirely sure how it is. And I've gone to multiple times. It's still Corey. It's so funny.
Yeah, I think the like in general the cross language type of intersections are very interesting, right? So we have nowadays so many people coming into countries where their names are not like native names of this particular language, right? And this creates an interesting new need for text to speech, for example, to capture that correctly, right? And but really, like very often, no matter how hard we try, there will be new names which might need some help with the pronunciation with SSML.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and you said that some words are, for example, not natively supported in that language. So here, say Australian English doesn't support, for example, some of these Maori words. So you can, as I said, you can use phoneme tag to improve the pronunciation there. I wouldn't say that we get it right all the time, but definitely it's a really good mechanism to tweak the pronunciation that comes out of the box. So this is one way, and Maciek touched on lexicons. So you can either use phoneme tags where possible and insert them, and that is one way, and which is really good if you have to do this ad hoc once or twice. But think about it: you're writing, you're part of a publishing company, and you've got these editors writing these articles. We can't expect them to be inserting these phoneme tags all the time in between. And that's where lexicon comes handy. So now, instead of using phoneme tags, what I can do is go to and upload a lexicon, which looks something like this. So it's an XML document which you can upload into Poly. And you need to make sure that you are picking the right language, which is aligned to the language that you use for generating the voice. And then you can have a bunch of these Lexme tags under which you will have different way in which your editors are going to say spell the same word. So for example, here I've got a spelling of Matariki without macrons, and then another one with the macrons. And when generating the text to speech, what Polly is now going to do is that it will, every time it finds a matching keyword here, it is going to automatically replace the phonetic pronunciation for that word. Okay. Um, the other thing that we see quite commonly people using lexicon is use aliases. So it's very common to have acronyms for product name or company name or a country, and you can add them as aliases into your lexicon file. So once you have, so there's the format for this lexicon file is available on our Poly documentation. So once you have got all those phonetic pronunciations added, you upload them. I would say that as a good practice would be, given that this is also kind of a code, is to manage them as you would manage any code. So have a Git repo or something like that, where every time somebody adds a new word or tweaks the pronunciation of a word, it goes through that Git process and gets added into your library before it gets uploaded into Poly, for which we provide APIs. So you can upload lexicon using Poly APIs. So once you have uploaded lexicon, what you can do now is that now I can get rid of all of this completely from here. And I don't need to even use my SSML tag or anything like that. Basically, I can just come here, put my text, and then if you look at my screen, there's these two radio buttons where I've got an option to customize pronunciation. And once you've uploaded the lexicons, you will see in the drop down that your lexicons will appear here. So you can have multiple different types of lexicons, so different files. One can be for so different versions or so on. So I picked that, and once I've done that, Poly is now going to apply all the pronunciations that I've got in the lexicon file and start honoring that. So let me give this a try. So instead of now having, I don't need to even use SSML, and you'll see that it just picks the New Zealand as an alias and replaces it with New Zealand instead of NZ.
Wishing all my listeners in New Zealand a very happy Matariki.
So do you see the difference, the subtle difference? If you did not, let me do one thing, which is remove this. So I will now not apply any lexicons, and let's try that.
Wishing all my listeners in NZ a very happy Matariki.
Yeah. So yeah. So that's really what it is. If you have to use the phonetic pronunciation aliases at scale, the right way to do that is using lexicons. Anything else you would like to add on that, Maciek?
No, I think you've covered it well. I think just maybe from a use case point of view. So this is the interesting, I guess, topic about a different interface, right? Like text and or screen or graphics and voice, right? Where very often like when we read text, right? So imagine we recently used lexicons with a financial company which synthesize reports, right? And then, of course, when we have abbreviations in text, we have an ease of figuring that out. Like humans have an ease to, like, when like what's the abbreviation for, it's very easy to fill it out. Now, when you listen to that, it's just a very strange experience. So lexicons are the way to really solve this problem at scale, right? Where you have maybe hundreds of or thousands of different abbreviations and need to expand them so this sounds correct, right?
Nice, yeah. So from a Poly console perspective and a demo of Poly, this is really all that I wanted to cover. So in next, I think 10 or 15 minutes, I think it would be really good, Maciek, if we can touch briefly on brand voices and some of the really interesting brand voices that we have created.
Sure. Let me just start with saying that when you think about brand voices and custom voices, really there are two main differences how we approach building a brand voice compared to a GA voice, right? So with a brand voice, we have the ability to shape the speech database we collect in order to build a model, right? And this is a very powerful tool because that allows you not only to select a speaker, which you specifically would like to have, right? And also like instruct them how you expect the style to sound, right? So as like we as any human might have, like we can speak faster or slower or like more with a happy voice or more with a calm voice, for example. And this all like these nuances, I think, are very important when you think about custom voice, especially in the context of branding, right? So that's, I would say, the number one difference for between the brand voice and the GA voice. You have the ability to fully customize that experience to your needs, right? The second thing is customization on a model level, right? So and the ARIA voice, the New Zealand English ARIA voice, is a great example of that, right? So it natively is an English voice, but it has the ability to support natively also several Maori words and phrases, right? Which you would not have in Australian English or British English or US English, right? And this is specifically something we worked on with Vodafone New Zealand to add those Maori words so we can pronounce them natively or as close as possible to a native pronunciation, right? And these type of customization can really encompass all sorts of different use cases. Think, so one of the examples of a voice we did was we did a voice with KFC of Colonel Sanders. Colonel Sanders, was a brand ambassador for KFC, and they've been using that persona in marketing materials and also interactions with the customer quite often. And one thing we did with them is we made sure that every menu item they have, which very often have very specific names, sounds really good and it's really compelling, right? So you can think about these customizations as adding out of the box things that you would like to pronounce correctly, and they are like maybe non-native or outside of the regular kind of pronunciation, so that you don't need to worry about lexicons or SSML. They're already built in for you there. So these are the two differences when we are like building brand voices, and they're kind of major when you are building a text-to-speech voice. But that being said, any other things you would expect from a text-to-speech voice in Poly, you'll get out of a brand voice, right? So it still supports SSML, still supports lexicons. It's still available for a console, for an API. In fact, very often, what we see our brand voice customers to do, they start with using one of our neural voices, right? Our neural Poly voices. They start with that. They prototype. They build an integration. And then they effectively say, okay, like now we're ready to move to the next step and to create a branded experience that we differentiate with which we differentiate from others. And then the integration is just about changing the name of the voice, literally, right? So it's super simple to integrate with the brand voice once you're already integrated with your service to Poly. So I kind of so this is kind of the main key differences, and which create the key value here, right, for the brand voice customer. But I didn't mention use cases. So the typical use cases we see with brand voices is really this personalization and differentiation type of use cases, right? So say you really want to have a very unique voice, which only you have, right? You only have access to it, and you see value in it, right? So maybe this is an application which talks in a funny way, or maybe there's a specific voice you'd like to represent you as a brand. So these are the primary use cases we are seeing with a brand voice.
We have had few customers locally, Maciek, who have kind of, especially in Australia, New Zealand,
Yes, we've worked with National Australia Bank and Bank of New Zealand to create specific brand voices just for them. They are using them also in conjunction with Amazon Connect for their telephony kind of products and services. So you can check them out.
Yeah, and what happens? I mean, when a customer creates these brand voices, we make sure that basically only they and nobody else can use that.
Correct. They're only exposed to the customer, to AWS customer IDs that the customer selects, right? So it can be a range of customer IDs. It doesn't need to be one, right? But the customer picks the one that are exposed to the voice. And how it effectively works is like when you're one of those customer IDs, you see the voice in the console. You wouldn't if you're not allow listed to do this.
It's essentially linked to a bunch of AWS accounts that a customer selects.
Exactly. Very often, we see also like customers or large companies have, integrators, additional companies which help them with integration, or maybe they have content management, partners, so they can also expose them to those companies and which are different from their entity, and that's possible as well.
Nice. So if a customer, let's say, wants to essentially build a brand voice, do they just reach out, or what happens?
Yes, correct. We'll drop a link. There's a form which you can use to contact us. Also, if you have any questions, like you can definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to route you to the right form or help with with your specific use case or application.
Yeah, and Casey, if you can also put in the chat the link of the blog for brand voices. There are some really interesting examples there of some local ANZ example, as well as the KFC example that I really love.
Yeah, there's also a few questions have come through, actually both from the exact same character, the Noob QB. One was asking about, does Poly or plan to support multilingual text-to-speech? For example, chosen language is English, but users mix in other languages like Chinese or Hindi.
Yeah, that is a great question. And by the way, the holy grail of text-to-speech, right? Like to create one voice which supports all, like one to rule them all, effectively, right? So yes, we do support multilingual voices. We have some of them. That being said, they are typically bilingual voices, right? Like they're encompassing like two languages, right? So we do have, for example, an Indian English voice and a Hindi voice, and that's kind of one voice which has the ability to pronounce both languages. I'd say we are still working on a voice which has the ability to pronounce multiple languages at the same kind of with the same request, right? Within the same request. So say you have a mixed code, right? Like where you start with English, move into Chinese and Hindi. That's something we currently don't support, but we are heavily working on enabling these type of applications because our customers are asking about them more and more. All right, as we, I guess, internationalize as companies and services. These type of use cases do exist, and especially around product names that we mentioned, right?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that. And we are running near time, but I just also wanted to share something that was very interesting to the viewers that are still here. And if you've actually also gone to the end of the video, if you're watching this on demand, around training resources, because we're always, trying to improve. There's a lot of things out there that we need to learn, and you have to start your journey someplace. And the demand for like cloud professionals and cloud engineers is absolutely through the roof. Like our partners and our customers are actually screaming out for talent, no matter where we are in the world, to be honest. And especially it's a massive problem in New Zealand. So I wanted to just share this with you, see if I can not mess this one up, but we should be all good. Cool. If I will just minimize that, and I'll share this screen here. So this is a slide that our awesome New Zealand-based training head put up for place. The cool one is like where the top one is skill builder. This is really your go-to if you're really looking to build up a skills in a specific service or a specific role, or maybe even a particular avenue like machine learning, etc., etc. And then you have the webinars and exam readiness if you're wanting to go down that route. If you are part of a big business and you want to put pressure on your boss to, just get yourself one of those instructor-led training, these are amazing. Our trainers go over and over this content and always are tweaking and improving it. Like I have been to an instructor-led training myself before I worked for AWS, and I did actually thoroughly enjoy it. It was a very easy, nice, crisp experience. But the key one here is down the bottom, is that there's a 50% discount for exam vouchers. And this is, I believe this is mostly for ANZ, but you can try your luck to see if this works outside of it, if you're not in those regions, because, if you don't try, you don't get. And yeah, that is awesome. If we have any last minute questions coming in, if not, we will leave it there.
Yeah, I mean, on the training bit, I just like to add that, yeah, definitely this is something that is, I would say that I don't know how many customers I talk to on a daily basis who are looking for people with AWS skills, people with who have gone through the training and certification. So definitely make use of this. There are free trainings, there are instructor-led trainings, as well as there is now this great exam voucher available. So go for it. I would say add this to your list of LinkedIn things. So once you clear exams, put it on LinkedIn that, hey, I've done this, and you'll be surprised how many job offers you get. I should just, because your employers are not going to like that. Anyway, hey, I think this is about time. I really want to take time to thank you, Maciek, for joining this early from Poland. And sharing this interesting insights about Poly and what customers are doing with it, and how if a customer's in New Zealand or ANZ wants to actually create a brand voice, how they can reach out to us.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So we drop a couple of links in the chat. There are forms which you can use to contact us. We try to respond as quickly as possible. And yeah, I just want to say thank you, Casey and Ratan, for having me. It was a real pleasure. I think I encourage you to check out Poly. Maybe start with checking out New Zealand English. Maybe you'll like a couple more languages. Yeah, if you have any feedback, do reach out to us. We are always open for that and want to improve. Want to make sure that we are providing the best possible experience to you guys. Thanks.
Awesome. And we are moving to a weekly show now. So next week we'll have our partner, I think the only premier partner in New Zealand's Consigna, and they'll be here with us presenting VMC and their experience and utilizing it. Anyway, thank you for joining us, and it's been awesome. And I think I owe 2 push-ups. That's the grand total.
At least 10, Casey. At least 10. Thank you.
Maybe 10. I should do 10. I don't think I can. Anyway, see you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.